Hello, and thank you for watching my video. Welcome to my video. Okay, this is just a very quick explanation about this Omicron virus that's now making the headlines. I just want to explain exactly why the panic is out there, but I just want to show you what the problem is and why they're all panicking slightly. COVID-19 is a variation on a coronavirus. Coronavirus has been around for ages. There's all different flavors of it, and the reason they're called coronaviruses have these spikes, okay, sticking out of them. And the reason they're called corona is because these spikes look like a corona. Okay, let me see if I can get a picture of it. Okay, here is a picture of a coronavirus. And this is basically why it's called coronavirus, because it has all these bits sticking out of it, which look like a crown. Well, when the original coronavirus came along, way back when, in 2019, and what they did was they looked at one of these spike proteins, right? The spike proteins are the keys which basically lock into your body's cells and open the door for the virus to invade your cells and use your cells processes to replicate themselves. What I mean by that is to actually make copies of themselves, right? This is how viruses work. So this is what these spike proteins are. They open the door for the infection. So what happens is, right, what they do with the vaccine, what they've done with the vaccine, they've taken one of these spike proteins and they've looked at a very microscopic level and got down to finding out what its genetic coding is, right? They look at the genetic coding, and this is the very sort of simplistic explanation I'll give you. Now, here is a spike protein represented as this triangle, right? And what it has a genetic coding that is kind of specific to it. What I mean to say is this coding only belongs to this coronavirus. And it may be, let's say this is the Wuhan strain, right? I'll call it Wu, right? So it had a genetic coding, and I'm going to represent that coding with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? That's the genetic coding of this Wuhan strain of coronavirus, okay? Now, what's happened here is the omnivirus, or the Omicron, has completely changed the coding, right? There's been 32 variations in its coding in the spike protein. So your antibodies coming along looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, your immune system does not recognize at all. So your antibodies, your T cells, etc. are not primed to deal with this, right? But this is still an infection. This is why they're panicking, because they've now rolled out billions of doses of, I think it's 1 billion doses of vaccine now. But it's all got the wrong coding, right? Because the Omicron's come along now, it's completely changed. It's got 32 variations on the spike protein. So that means the vaccines will not recognize this particular infection. So if you get an Omicron infection, right, you will probably get sick, or you will get a bad reaction to it. You will get the coughs, you will get the headaches, you will get the aches, you will feel rough and the high temperatures. But most people, it will probably just be like a bad case of flu. But you'll probably get over it and you'll be fine, because your body will treat it like a new infection. So all your T cells and all your antibodies will come along and still deal with it. And they might have a slight advantage in the sense that they have been also being partly coded with some of these protein genetic information. Right, so they'll have a bit of a head start, but essentially speaking, this is completely different. They don't really recognize this. This is why everyone's panic out there, right? Because what the ultimate result of this could be is that we could go right back to square one, because we'll get more infections like we did before, and some, unfortunately, will get really sick and end up back in hospitals and with respirators and stuff like that. So this is highly infectious, but the theory at the moment is that it's not necessarily more deadly. Okay, it's not more pathogenic is the word, right? So it's not more deadly, it's more infectious. It means you can get it quickly, and you'll get, if you do get it, you probably will get symptoms. So essentially the panic here is that the vaccines, even though billions of people have been vaccinated, not billions, I don't know how many people have been, in their millions anyway, close to 1 billion people have been vaccinated, right? They've all been vaccinated with the wrong coding. Well, this is why they're panicking now. They want to get a booster out in 3 months with the correct coding. This is why now there's frantic research going on into this Omicron spike protein and what's it's doing, so they can then construct together a new vaccine that will deal with this and give you another booster on top of the boosters that you're already getting. Now, this is the other point I want to make here. People are now being urged to go and get boosters. I don't understand why that the case is, because the boosters are still based on the original virus and it's still got the wrong coding in it. So I don't think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I don't think the vaccines will deal with this until they find a vaccine that has the correct coding on the spike protein, like the Omicron here. I watched a brilliant program called Contagion from the BBC a few years back, and that really explained how these viruses work, and they are so clever. This is why we've got this variation, because I think this variation is trying to work its way around the vaccine, but it's just my intelligence around how these things work based on the program that I saw from the BBC. It's called Contagion. Brilliant program, right? Really explained how viruses work. It was dealing with how pandemics are dealt with, and it was running through a simulation of a pandemic, and at the same time it was giving you the really low down, intricate mechanisms of how viruses work and how they infect the body over a time period, like a 24-hour clock. It was brilliant. I can highly recommend you watch it if you can get hold of it. I think you can still download it on Sky or whatever, but it will really explain. You have to stick with it. It's quite a long program, and it can get quite heavyweight in some of the explanations, but it really does explain how viruses work. And this is why, having watched that program, I think that this vaccine, as it is at the moment, will not deal with the Omicron virus, right? You'll probably still get infection. This is why they're all panicking right now, right? This is why it's now the WHO are involved and G7 are having meetings and all this sort of stuff. This is high level stuff now, because they've realized that this Omicron virus presents a real threat to what we thought was the end of the pandemic, right? And this could actually set us back all the way back to 2019. So we're in a serious situation right now, and we have to deal with this right now, and we have to take big measures to try and deal with this. They're really looking into this. They're thinking, okay, well, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks before they fully understand how this virus works. Where I'm standing right now, I'm telling you right now, this vaccine will not deal with this particular variant until they develop a vaccine that is encoded with this particular variant's genetic coding, okay? And that could take, because they have to then not only develop the vaccine, they then have to test it on humans to make sure it's safe, because they're going to have to mess around with the spike protein. They're going to have to create another synthetic spike protein with a new coding, and they're going to make sure that that new coding and all the subdomains and all that sort of stuff within that spike protein is not hazardous to human health. Okay, so they're going to have to test that vaccine. So if it turns out that the current vaccines are not dealing with this, and like I said, my opinion is it won't deal with it, but I'm thinking at the moment that the vaccines will not deal with this, and this is why there's a panic out there. But once they do get the vaccine, they get the correct coding in the vaccine for this, and then they inject you with the boosters. Well, that all has to be tested, right? They can't just rejig the vaccines and start pumping it out, because they don't know what the adverse effects will be of that vaccine. You know, it's going to be months possibly before a vaccine booster for this Omicron is going to come out. So that's why you have to be really safe out there. Take all the precautions that you can right now. Right? Do it now. Don't wait for the government to tell you how to do it. You know, wear a good mask. Don't wear surgical masks. Surgical masks are a waste of time. Those blue things, they breathe. They let out air all over the place, and you can still breathe them. And I'm going to do a whole video about surgical masks later. Right? Get a proper mask, proper PF coding mask that properly filtrates the air. It's going to cost you a bit more money, but get a proper mask. Make sure you mask up when you go out. It's been made compulsory now that you have to wear it on transport and in shops. That's good, okay? But I would strongly advise you to get a good mask, and I would strongly advise you to take all the social distancing precautions you can while this Omicron stuff is sorted out. This will infect you if you let it, okay? If I'm talking shit, then by all means tell me down why, but you have to tell me why I'm talking shit. You have to give me the explanations as to why what I'm telling you here would be wrong, okay? Don't just yell abuse at me, because that's very unintelligent, right? So anyway, okay, there it is. That's my explanation of what's happening right now. I'll obviously update, and like I said, when things change and update, and then I'll possibly do another video. All right, people, have a great day. Take care now.